We are live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome to the official launch of the Buidl Battle Bitcoin Builders Tournament. Really excited to be here. I'm going to walk through a lot of different slides. My goal with this is to make sure that whether you're familiar with this tournament or whether you're not, you feel up to speed and you have a really good understanding as to what to expect and to know what you're getting yourself into over the next several days. So here's an agenda. This is what we'll be talking about maybe over the next 15 or so minutes. Starting off with myself. So a brief introduction of me. My name is Adam Haun. I am the head of community programs at the Stacks Foundation. We are one of the organizations that are putting on and bringing this tournament, this battle to you. So let's talk a little bit about what this tournament is. So this is a 3-week-long competition. This is going to be comprised of lots of work, lots of building, lots of learning, lots of connecting, and ultimately lots of fun. That's the main reason why we're doing this. We want to take builders in the Bitcoin ecosystem and give them the tools, the resources, the spotlight, and ultimately the elevation to help their projects get exposed to the right audiences, the right individuals, and do what we can to help them, these builders, get to the next step in their builder's journey. So this is for anyone who is a native Bitcoin builder. This is for anyone who's a new Bitcoin builder, someone who doesn't have a whole lot of experience building in this space. We want you to change that. We want to take you from a new green builder into an experienced builder. And the goal is you will reach there by the end of this program. And the reason we're doing this is, as I mentioned, we are really trying to give as much of attention to the people who are doing the hard work building in this space. So I'm going to talk a lot more about what that looks like, but that's kind of the overview as to why this tournament, why this program exists. The structure of this tournament, I'll get into specific dates very shortly, but at a general level, this is going to be performed around 2 separate rounds. So we have themes, we have challenges. Everyone who's going to be building right from the get-go, that is all under round 1. And starting on March 19th, March 20th, the winners of round 1 are going to be announced. There's going to be 8 winners, 4 themes, 3 challenges, and then 1 wild card winner. So that will make a total of 8 winners after round 1. Those 8 winners will advance to round 2, and those winners are going to be presenting to a really strong panel of VCs and judges, and those VCs and judges are going to make one selection of the overall winner of round 2 of those 8 teams. So that's a little bit of an overview as to how the structure of the tournament of Buidl Battle works. From here, we're going to get more into where this hackathon and where this competition is going to be taking place. So if you have not got access to the Buidl Battle DoraHacks page, please click that link. I guess you can't click it. Please type that link into your browser. That link will take you to the DoraHacks Buidl Battle page, and there you can register for Buidl Battle on DoraHacks. We're doing this on DoraHacks because it is going to be the home of all of the resources, all of the schedule, all of the workshop information, all the overall details, the pricing, everything you will need to know about this competition is going to live on that DoraHacks page. So if you haven't gone there yet, definitely take a second, type that into your browser, visit the Buidl Battle Competition on DoraHacks, register, and you're good to go. That's all you have to do. Secondly, if you're looking for a little bit of streamlined communication, if you have questions, if you're looking to form a team, if you want to stay in the know with any announcements and updates that we have throughout this program, I highly, highly recommend that you join the Buidl Battle Competition Telegram group. If you are viewing this live, you can definitely scan this QR code. It will take you in there. And that's where all of the conversation of this competition will take place right there in Telegram. So there's a lot of information that consists in this program, but if you are on the DoraHacks page, if you are in the Telegram group, then you are good. You are ready to go. You are going to be getting information as it comes, and you're going to be in a good place. So just remember those two things: DoraHacks platform, Telegram group. So next thing I'm going to go over quickly is the timeline. So the first week, which is from now until the end of this week, is the ultimate start of the tournament. So building has begun, and workshops are going to be beginning shortly after I wrap up my slides with our first workshop. Workshops will take place today, March 3rd, tomorrow, March 4th, and Wednesday, March 5th. We have 7 workshops that we are going to be getting through within those 3 days, and each workshop is going to take maybe an hour or so. Starting next week on Monday, March 10th, that's when office hours will take place. So office hours are with the mentors that we have in this tournament. These mentors are coming from the sponsors who are hosting challenges. They are coming from the workshop hosts. They're going to be coming from all of the ecosystems and protocols that are involved in this tournament. We have experts from each of those protocols who are going to be offering hands-on support for you. The following week, so 2 Mondays from today, is March 17th, and that is when your submissions are due. Submissions are due at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you need to have your submission done through the DoraHacks page by that time. And once all of the projects are submitted, the rest of March 17th, the following day, March 18th, and then the following day, March 19th, are going to be when the judges are evaluating each of the projects. So judging evaluations will be wrapped up by March 19th. March 20th is when the first round of winners are going to be announced. They will be announced in the Telegram group. They will also be announced on DoraHacks. And then the following day, March 21st, is when the overall winner and the ultimate champion of the Buidl Battle Competition will be crowned. March 21st is when the overall winner will be announced. So keep those dates in mind. So now let's talk a little bit about the themes and what you're going to be building. So we have 4 themes that all the projects within this competition should fall within. This can be Bitcoin DeFi. This can be the 3.0 digital economy, real-world ordinals and NFT use, and tooling and infrastructure. So within these 4 themes, there are much more specific details. If you go onto the DoraHacks page, there is a specific section that is titled themes. If you click there, it breaks down what is possible, what is some good suggestions of ideas that you might want to build, and gives you a good idea as to what you want to get involved in when you look at these 4 themes. So again, the more specific theme details along with suggestions, good ideas, what you could build, all of that is on DoraHacks under the themes section. Next, we're going to go through the prizes. So as I discussed, there's going to be 2 rounds here. Round 1, where the winner of each theme will be selected, and then the winner of each theme and challenge will be selected, and then round 2, all of the winners will compete for the overall winner. But round 1, on the note of themes, every theme will have 1 winner that is going to receive $3,500 for a prize paid in STX tokens. Also, 10,000 AWS credits for each theme winner. Second place for each of those themes receives $1,500 paid in STX tokens. Round 2 is a little bit of a bonus round because you will get the opportunity to get exposure and connect with different VCs and judges who are going to be seeing your projects and going to be seeing your pitches directly. And on top of that exposure, you also, the overall winner, will get an additional 5,000 paid in STX tokens. So this is a breakdown of the prizes for the theme category. This is a breakdown of prizes for the challenges. So we have 4 themes, we have 3 challenges. The challenges are brought to you by our sponsors. We have the Divinity Foundation, we have AIBTC, and we have Amazon Web Services, all providing challenges for this competition. So you can compete in both. If you are really eager and you want to learn this stuff, or you really want to stick your neck out and really try to take on as much of this as you can participate in a theme and you can pursue a challenge. Challenges can be built on top of themes. You just have to submit them separately. So with the challenges, the ICP challenge brought to you by Divinity, first place of the ICP challenge receives 5,000 USD as well as ICP for a developer grant. Second place gets 5,000 USD as opportunity, as well as an opportunity to pursue a Dfinity Foundation developer grant. AIBTC challenge is priced at 5,000 USD, and that is paid in sBTC. And the last challenge is the AWS Buidl with Bedrock challenge, and the winner of this challenge gets 10,000 in AWS credits. And so these are the breakdown for the winners of each of the challenges. But again, I will remind you, the challenges can be, you can pursue a challenge and you can also pursue a theme from a previous slide that I was walking through each of the themes. I have two judging criteria elements here. On the left, we have the criteria for the themes. And again, this is a little bit broad, but I don't want to take a ton of time to go through all of it. If you want the in-depth breakdown of the judging criteria, head to the DoraHacks page, go under the judging criteria section in details, and you can learn a little bit more about all of the criteria that's included here. But you can see that there's these 6 parts of the judging criteria for the themes. They include innovation, technical implementation, Bitcoin alignment, user experience, impact potential, and utilizing the Stacks technology. And then for the challenges, same thing as I said for the themes, there's a challenge section on the DoraHacks page. Click that for a very, very thorough, in-depth explanation as to what each challenge is for our 3 sponsored challenges. That will also include the judging criteria. So I don't want to go too deeply into judging criteria for the challenges, but all of that is included on the DoraHacks page. Go check it out, learn, and make sure you follow that. For your submissions, when you submit your projects, that will be done through DoraHacks. I think I spent enough time already explaining where that is and why we're using it. So if you create your account on DoraHacks and you register for the Buidl Battle, you will then submit your project using DoraHacks. And once all your projects are submitted, there will be a gallery where you can see your project and you can see everyone else's projects. And then to round out the submissions, the winners will be announced on DoraHacks as well as in our Telegram for round 1. And then the overall winner for round 2 will be announced on a Twitter space March 21st. Almost through my slides. Hang in there if you're struggling to bear with me. I want to go over the workshops. So workshops are very, very in-depth. This is one of the best value adds that you can get from this competition. You're going to hear directly from the expert from each of the protocols and each of the challenges. And you're going to learn directly from them what it is that you could do to utilize their technology to best set you up for success for each challenge or theme that you're going to be pursuing. So shortly after, or right after I wrap up, the very first workshop will be taking place. That's going to be with Kenny Rogers from the Stacks Foundation. He's going to be giving an introduction to proof of transfer, Clarity, sBTC, everything that you need to know about getting started building on Stacks. Following Kenny is going to be Emil from AWS. Emil is going to be giving an overview of building AI agents with Amazon Bedrock. Really good information if you are interested in pursuing the AWS challenge. And then workshop 3, the final one for today, is getting started with ICP. This is going to be led by Moritz, and this kicks off at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And these are the 3 workshops for March 3rd. Tomorrow, we have 2 workshops. We have building streaming payments on Stacks, and that's going to be led by Hardik from Learn Web 3. That starts at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then we also have getting started with AI DAOs on AIBTC. That's led by Jason and that from AIBTC, and that's going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So if you're interested in pursuing the AIBTC challenge, then you definitely want to come to the workshop where Jason will be giving an overview of that. And then the third day, this Wednesday, March 5th, we have 2 more workshops. Buy Me a Coffee with sBTC. That's going to be led by Eric from the Hero team. That starts at 1 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock Eastern. And then the final workshop we have is a very practical workshop led by Moritz, again, from the Dfinity Foundation, building native Bitcoin smart contracts on ICP. So if you want to pursue the ICP challenge, this is going to be, again, a really good workshop to attend. And the difference between this workshop with Moritz versus the other workshop that Moritz is holding later today, Monday, is this one's going to be a lot more in-depth and technical. So there'll be a little bit more of a practical one that starts today for Moritz, and then there'll be another one on Wednesday that's much more practical. Sorry, the one with today is a little bit more theoretical. Okay, Last is the dev resources. Another really important resource for this tournament is not losing time looking for the information that you might need help with. So we have a dedicated section. It's called Dev Resources. It's in DoraHacks. Be sure to find that. It lists every resource that is needed for each of the protocols. It also, you can also find a list of the resources under each sponsor's challenge. So 2 places where you can get all the information you need for each sponsor, as well as each tech that you need to learn. So dev resources on DoraHacks, also sponsored challenges on DoraHacks is where you'll find all that information. And before I wrap up, I just want to give a very warm thank you to all of the sponsors. If it wasn't for the sponsors, we wouldn't be able to make this happen. So we have a variety of partners. If you want to see the full list of partners, go to buidlbattle.com. We have a full page of different partners. The partners who are the reason why we're able to bring this to you and incentivize builders with prizes comes down to the Stacks Foundation, the Dfinity Foundation, Hero Systems, Amazon Web Services, and AIBTC. So a big thank you to all of those partners for making this possible. Could not have done it without you. And then to close off, here's what we can expect for the next few days throughout the rest of this tournament. Very similar to the timeline. I'm going to speed through this one. I'm not even going to speed through this one. I'm just going to move past this one because I feel like I've already explained a lot of these things. If you want to get this in-depth view of the schedule from now until March 21st, be sure to check out the DoraHacks page. So that is all I have to say. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the eagerness that all these builders have, and I can't wait to see what you build. I'm going to wrap up. I will see you all in Telegram, and we can start with our first workshop of the competition.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Let me share my screen real quick. Cool. All right. Thank you, Adam, for that. And welcome, everybody, to Buidl Battle. Super excited about the next few weeks. I want to give a real quick piece of advice for developers. I know the prizes here are pretty cool, but the one thing I really want, the other piece of this that I really want people to think of as you're building your project is to really treat this as like a gateway and a kickstart to get your project built and out into the world and kind of get an MVP of it up and running and be able to really start experimenting with how do I actually build this thing? How do I start figuring out how to talk about it with people, work through the kinks, all that kind of stuff. So the real unlock here, I think, is the ability to the people that you're going to meet, the eyeballs that your projects are going to be in front of. And so definitely take this seriously as a good opportunity to kind of get that project up and running. And so with that, today, what I really want to do is I want to help everybody get from 0 to 1 as quickly as possible. And so I'm going to run through the basics of stacks for anybody that's not familiar. But the second half of this workshop is really going to be sort of a how to get started building as quickly as possible. Because what I found in a lot of these hackathons is that the hardest part is actually getting up and running and getting yourself familiarized with how to just get a basic project up and running. And thanks to the folks at Hero, we have a really, really cool way to kind of bypass that really quickly. And so we're going to go through that. I'm going to give you the quick rundown of stacks and how it works. And then I'm going to go into that demo of basically what I would do to get from 0 to 1 with my project as quickly as possible. And we got a pretty cool way for everybody to do that. So with that, let's get into the basics of stacks. My little elevator pitch for stacks is it's a Bitcoin L2 designed to enhance Bitcoin scalability and functionality. We can play with the term L2. I think that's got a lot of baggage with it. If you want to even just drop that, Stacks is just it's a system designed to enhance Bitcoin scalability and functionality. That's really what the goal is. That's what it's designed to do. And so if we look at what makes an ideal Bitcoin layer or L2? What we really want is we want it to inherit Bitcoin security, use Bitcoin as the medium of exchange, and then enhance scalability and or functionality of Bitcoin. And the real goal here is that we want to do all of this while being as decentralized as possible, with paths forward for increased decentralization over time. So what can we do right now with the technology and market that we have available to us? And how can we build that in a way that's as decentralized as it can be right now, while leaving room for improvements and iterations to increase both the functionality and the decentralization of it over time? That's kind of the ethos that Stacks takes and has always taken to building. So there's three primary components. I'm going to breeze through these real quick. Proof of transfer is the consensus mechanism. Clarity is the smart contracts. So Clarity is its own language. Stacks doesn't use Solidity, doesn't use Rust. Stacks, the chain itself is built in Rust, but you don't write smart contracts in Rust. You write smart contracts in Clarity. And then sBTC is the trust minimized two-way Bitcoin peg on the Stacks layer. So proof of transfer. This is a little bit of a complex document. I'm going to run through this stuff quickly. I don't expect any of this to really like sink in and stick. If you're not familiar with how this works already, I definitely recommend instead going to the docs if you want to like really dig in and understand how it works. But I do think it's helpful to give a real quick overview of how it works so that everybody is aware of that. So proof of transfer, you can think of it as like sort of a programmatic recreation of proof of work in a way. There are a lot of differences, but that's conceptually kind of how it's helpful to think about it. So with Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin miners will spend one resource, which would be energy, in order for the chance to mine Bitcoin. And then in Stacks miners, they're one level up. So they will spend one external resource, in this case, Bitcoin, for the chance to mine new stacks. And the way that proof of transfer actually produces blocks is pretty unique, because the goal here was really how can we keep Stacks as tightly integrated to Bitcoin as possible, and again maintain that as much trust minimization and as much decentralization as we can. And the way that we do that is these Stacks miners will spend Bitcoin, and they'll actually spend the Bitcoin. It's not like a bid. They're actually sending the Bitcoin to these Bitcoin addresses that are generated by the Stacks protocol. And what that'll do is that'll place them in a weighted random function. And so the more Bitcoin they spend, the more likely they are to win the next mining spot. They're not guaranteed to, but the more likely they are. And so the miner's job is really, how do I balance how much Bitcoin I'm spending versus how many stacks I'm generating? And what will happen is the miner will win what's called a tenure. And a miner tenure corresponds to a single Bitcoin block. And if a miner wins a tenure, what they're going to do is they're going to create and propose new Stacks blocks within that tenure. So Stacks blocks are much quicker than Bitcoin blocks. Bitcoin blocks are, anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. That's how long miner tenures are. But within that tenure, miners will produce several Stacks blocks roughly every several seconds. The exact time varies, but the miners aren't actually going to append those blocks to the chain. What the miners are going to do is they're going to take the transactions in the mempool, they're going to construct the blocks, propose them, and then they're going to send them over to a different party in the system called stackers. And what those stackers are going to do is they are going to actually validate those blocks and make sure that they follow the rules of the protocol. And then if they do, then they will append them to the chain. And so we have this sort of symbiotic relationship between the miners and the stackers. The miners are incentivized by the new the Coinbase rewards that the new stacks that will get generated when they start their tenure. So they get rewarded with that. That Bitcoin that the miners are spending, that gets sent to the stackers. And so stackers will lock their Stacks tokens in the network, and then they will get a percentage of that Bitcoin that gets transferred as a yield there. And so we've got this sort of symbiotic relationship between them. So that's the basics of how proof of transfer works. Again, to dig into the details, definitely recommend going to the docs. Let's move on to Clarity, which is the smart contract language. Want to go over a couple basics of Clarity so that you have a little bit of a comparison to make with something like Solidity. So there's a few key differences in mind. Clarity, one, there's no reentrancy allowed in Clarity whatsoever. Another key difference is that there's built-in token support. So whereas with this, object-oriented language like Solidity, you might pull in a library like OpenZeppelin, and that's going to help you then build your token functionality. Fungible and non-fungible token functions are built directly into Clarity itself, so you don't need to pull in an external library. And then speaking of external libraries, Clarity is not an object-oriented language. And there's no concept of like inheriting functionality from higher level classes like there is in something like Solidity. And so what you do instead in Clarity is everything that your Clarity smart contract does has to be written out directly line by line. And the benefit here is that it's much more clear and readable exactly what your contract is doing. There's no functionality that's kind of abstracted away in a higher level class or something like that that you're inheriting. You can still call into other contracts to utilize their functionality. And so it's got, libraries, quote unquote, in that sense, but there's no like inheritance concept. And if you want to call another function in another contract, you have to, explicitly put that you're calling this function in this contract. So then you can just go to that contract and see exactly what it's doing. And so the goal here is, yes, it's more verbose, but the shift in thinking that I want you to try to make if you're working with Clarity is that verbosity, however you say it, is good in a smart contract language, because we want to be extremely explicit and clear about exactly what our contract is doing. And so I would argue that abstraction and conveniences like that are actually not a good thing in a smart contract language. It's not what we want to do. We want it to be explicit and written out. Back to this top bullet point here, interpreted. So Clarity is interpreted, not compiled. So with Solidity, I, as the developer, will write Solidity code, and then I'll use something, like Hardhat or Foundry or whatever to compile that to bytecode, and then that's what gets uploaded to the chain. So there's a little bit of a middleman there. There's no compiler on the developer side in Clarity. The code that I write is exactly what gets uploaded to the chain. And so that just eliminates another potential avenue for things to go wrong during that compiler step. And then finally, it's decidable. Another way to think about this is it's non-Turing complete. Main thing here being there are no unbounded loops in Clarity. So you'll know with certainty the maximum execution cost of a function before you call it, because it's not possible to have any unbounded loops. So you can actually have an idea of the maximum costs of a Clarity function before you even run it. So there's no way to like run out of gas in the middle of a Clarity function call or anything like that. This is a real quick example of Clarity, just so you can kind of get an idea of what the syntax is. This is just a basic counter example. Again, it might look a lot different if we're used to something like Solidity or JavaScript, but this is what that syntax is going to look like here. We're going to go into a little bit more Clarity in a second. And again, definitely recommend the docs or the Clarity book. I'll have a link to some resources as well, so you can actually dig through this. And then sBTC. So this is the most recent addition to the Stacks ecosystem, but this is a one-to-one backed Bitcoin asset. And it's really meant to address the main bottleneck with Bitcoin, and that's having a decentralized way to move Bitcoin from the L1 and L2 and back and have programmability in our Bitcoin. And so that's what sBTC is designed to do. It's got a few different properties. So I've talked about how Stacks transactions have Bitcoin finality. sBTC benefits from that. And so any sBTC transactions that happen on Stacks, they'll get recorded to the Bitcoin chain, and that history can't be reversed. You can't actually reverse a Stacks transaction that's been anchored to Bitcoin without reversing Bitcoin itself. We get full smart contract functionality with sBTC, and then those deposit transactions actually happen on the Bitcoin main chain. So if I'm going to convert my Bitcoin to sBTC, I'm first submitting a deposit on the Bitcoin L1, and then the Stack signers on the back end will detect that, mint the sBTC. Again, there's a bunch that goes into this behind the scenes. Highly recommend checking out the docs if you want to really dig into how to use it. But the main benefit from a developer perspective of the way that sBTC designed is that you can benefit from all of the hard work that the core devs did and all of that decentralization and trust minimization. But all you have to do is just call a normal Clarity function. And so sBTC follows what's called the SIP10 standard. SIP10 is basically the fungible token standard on Stacks. So I talked about how fungible token functions for working with them are built right into Clarity. So in order to actually utilize sBTC as a developer, you literally just have to call a super simple token transfer function and pass in the contract and address that corresponds to the sBTC token, which again is in the docs. And so you don't really have to do anything crazy to work with sBTC at all. All the hard work and all the complicated stuff happens under the hood and happens on the Signer network. As application developers, all we need to do is just call that contract in our code. So I'm going to switch right now, and we're going to go through a real quick demo. And I'm actually going to switch to the Hero platform because they've got a couple things that are really, really cool. We're going to shift gears a little bit now, and I'm going to go from how Stacks works. And now I'm going to switch into here's how I would recommend everybody get started if you have a new project. If you're working on something, a project that's already built, you're already, you're working on an existing project, great, do that. But if people are starting a brand new project, this is 100% how I'd recommend you do it, because this is going to do a couple things for you. What we're about to go over is going to give you, it's going to be the fastest way to go from 0 to 1. It's going to have the least room for complications because you're not going to have to deal with any local development issues, anything like that. But the most important piece is that by doing this, you're going to have your project get started with the architecture and setup that is best practices, basically. And so this is going to cut out a lot of that learning curve of how do I actually set up my project, the stuff that you don't care about and that you want to skip over so that you can get immediately to building out the functionality of your project. So if you go to platform.hero.so and sign in or sign up there, that's where we're going to be here. Once you do that, you'll get dropped into this projects menu. And these are just different stacks projects that we can have. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to add a project. And these app templates are what I want to draw your attention to. And the reason these app templates are really, really cool is because they're fully functional applications that are already built and designed in a way and architected in a way that are going to be really, really good best practices for interacting with the Stacks chain. Even if you're not building, an NFT marketplace or a fundraising app, I still recommend you do these because you can go in, look at how it's built, and then you can just start tweaking things to fit with your specific functionality, write your own smart contracts, tweak the front end to interact with that. And we're going to go over a couple of other things that are really cool as well. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start with one of these fundraising apps. And we're going to call it BitFund because we all know every good Bitcoin hackathon project has to have the word bit in it. So I'm just going to clone this, and I have my GitHub authenticated through the platform. And so this is actually just going to create a new repository directly in my GitHub account. I'm going to mark it as private for now. But once I hit clone, this is just going to create a new GitHub repo for me. And this is going to live then in my GitHub, and it's already done. And so now what I can do is I can copy this, open up my terminal, and I'm just going to clone that into a new folder. I'm going to change into that folder. Now we can check out what's in here, and we can see this is just a project setup. We've got our Clarity folder that's going to have all our contracts, and we've got our front end folder that's going to have, you guessed it, our front end. So I'm going to open this up in Cursor. Bring this over here, and we'll dig into the file structure here a little bit. So we've got the two main folders we want to keep in mind here are Clarity and front end. Clarity is going to be our Clarinet project. If you're not familiar with Clarinet, you can think of it as similar to like a Hard Hat or Foundry on the Ethereum side of things. This is just going to be how we develop our Clarity smart contracts. And then our front end, this is just going to be a next app that connects to all these things. But what's really cool is the Hero team has included a README here, which is going to make it really easy for us to get started. So I'm going to hit continue to project here. This is going to load up the contracts. And while that is loading, we're going to go back to Cursor, and we're going to go check out this README file, because this is going to tell us everything we need to know to actually get started with this and be able to utilize it as a base template for whatever project we are working on. So the first thing you can see here is we've got this Start DevNet and Hero platform. And so something really cool that the Hero platform has is, if you're not familiar with Clarinet DevNet, what DevNet basically is it's a way to allow you to replicate the Stacks chain locally for development purposes. And Hero platform actually has the ability to do this, and it's just built right in. So the other cool thing is, if you're in the platform right here, you can see we can actually go check out the README file right here, which is awesome. So we can read that right there and go through, and we can kind of check out what we're going to do here. So back to DevNet, we're going to actually just go in order. So we're going to start DevNet in the Hero platform. We can go to DevNet right here, and we can just start DevNet. And we're going to not update this because that's what the README says. They have some specific configurations in there. And we're just going to start our DevNet and let that spin up. And so this is actually going to start in our platform instance. This is going to start an instance of DevNet so that we can use our application that we just cloned, but we can have it connect to this platform hosted DevNet, which is really cool because then we don't have to worry about any of the local setup or local issues there. Next, what we're going to do is we're just going to follow these instructions. And so we're going to open up cursor, actually open up my terminal. I'm going to change into front end. I'm going to run npm install. Let that run. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my API key to the front end here. I'm going to do that off screen for obvious reasons, but that part's really, really easy. If you go to, let me actually show you real quick. There is a API hub right here. If you click into that, you'll be able to get your own API key. So I'm going to do this off screen real fast here. Put this over here. But all you're really doing when you're setting up this environment stuff is you're just copying the example environment file that the platform has in here, and you're just going to rename it to be your actual .env, and there's a spot to put in your hero API key right in there. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so I've got that API key in there. Let's pull this back over. Our DevNet is active, so DevNet is live, which is really cool. So now we're running that DevNet, and we are going to go ahead and change into the front end directory and run our npm install. Actually, what I need to do here is I need to go back and I need to run npm install in the root directory as well. Okay, now change into our front end and we're going to run npm dev here. And we're going to be able to get our front end application actually running. And let's see what happens here. All right, looks like we got a couple errors. You guys are going to see some live debugging. So I'm going to actually just try to debug this on the fly real quick and see if Cursor can help me out. Let's see what file is this in. We're in the Hero Wallet Provider file. Let's open this up. Start a new window here. Welcome to the world of AI development. This interface has literally changed since I used this last night. So we're going to see how this goes. Yeah, this interface for Cursor is all new for me, so this is cool. You guys are seeing a real-time, brand new debugging thing. So we're going to see how this goes. Let's see how good Cursor's new Claude 3.7 agent does right off the bat. I do want to try to get the UI up and running because there is something cool that I want to show. So let's accept this. Look at that. Way to go, Claude and Cursor. Okay, so the reason I wanted to show the UI is because of this part specifically up here. So one issue that I've run into all the time, that I've seen other people run into all the time, is getting there's just a lot of issues and disconnects between getting wallets set up and trying to connect to the right network and all these different things. And the way that Hero's designed these templates is really, really cool, because there's actually if we go back to our code here, there's a DevNet wallet provider here. So you can see on the right here, we've got some specific DevNet stuff. There's a DevNet wallet provider, and then there's also a DevNet wallet connect TypeScript file. And what you're going to see here is some wallet values here. These are hard-coded to be the same as the values that are in the default wallets when you run a DevNet. So don't panic about, this seed phrase being displayed here. These are the default seed phrases and wallets that get generated for every single DevNet. So if you were to run, Clarinet DevNet start, these are the same wallets that would be generated here. And what the front end is actually doing here is it's detecting that we have a DevNet environment present, and it is automatically pulling these in so that we can just conduct actions directly through these DevNet addresses here. So this worked last time I tried it. Let's see if it works now. Let's say that I want to start a campaign here, and you can see I'm connected to this right here. So I'm going to start it, and it just worked. And it's an actual transaction ID in our DevNet. So if we go back to the platform and go back to DevNet, we can see it's got transactions here. In a second, I wonder if I could just mine it now. We're going to see that transaction that we just made show up here. And this is just mining transactions. I do want to make sure that our contracts got deployed because they may not have been deployed yet. So it does take a few minutes for DevNet to really get up and running. It doesn't look like our contracts that we have been deployed, but I'm also just realizing I don't know if I deployed them myself. Deploy contracts, DevNet active. Okay, I think they deploy automatically when we're in DevNet, but it does tend to take around 30 blocks for the contracts to actually be deployed. Although this did work, so I think they did get deployed. But anyway, yeah, we have an active campaign up and running right now, which is really, really cool because we didn't have to deal with any of this Wallet Connect stuff. It all got detected and done for us automatically, which is awesome. So what I would recommend everybody do is I would recommend everybody go start with one of these platform templates, get your DevNet up and running, and just start experimenting with this and playing with it. And definitely go in to this code and just study it and look at how it's working and what it's doing. Once you have an idea in your head of what you actually want to create, go in here and just modify it where you need to. So you've got a UI designed and a front end designed with best practices here to make it easy to connect to the Stacks blockchain, your wallet, your contracts. And you've already got a pre-built, hey, if you want to build something with best practices, here's how to do it. Just copy this. And so you've got some, you've got your Wallet Connect, you've got some utility functions that you can borrow here. There's some custom hooks in here. So for example, we've got some custom hooks in here for using our campaign info. So you can take a look at these. These are all how we're going to interact with our contract. You can go in and take a look at these, and you can just modify these for once you create your own contract. You can just take this and use it as a template and just start adding on to it with your own stuff. So you can use the platform for your actual contract development. And then you can use, your local code here. And what's cool about this is when you make changes and deploy it to GitHub, it's going to detect that automatically. The one thing to keep in mind is that if you do update your contracts, what you'll have to do is you'll have to update your contracts and then deploy those up to your GitHub. And then you'll need to restart your DevNet here because the DevNet is going to deploy your contracts. And so, you're going to definitely want to make sure that you get that reset. So we've got a couple other transactions here. And so I want to see, I think these are all, I think it might be just having trouble loading. Hold on 1 second here. I think this one right here is where we'll see the transaction that we actually initiated right here. But what this is doing is DevNet is running, and you can actually go look at the block explorer for this as well. So I think if we go to this isn't the right transaction, I'm just going to show you. We can actually click view and explore, and it'll open this up in an instance of the block explorer for us to take a look at. It takes a second to load the first time, but you can open up your transactions there and take a look at them. This is highly recommended that you go ahead and try to do this to get your project started. That's the kind of basics of what I would do to go from 0 to 1 to start building on Stacks. You can see we've got that transaction right here. This is actually our platform DevNet that we're using right here. If we go to network, you can see right here, we've got that API connection there. Cool. So that's the 0 to 1 of how to get started building on stacks. Highly recommend using these templates and experimenting with them. It'll take out a ton of the upfront work of trying to figure out just how to architect your app, and you'll know that you're going into it with best practices. And then for next steps, as far as actually learning how to build and how to write this code and everything, here are the main resources that I recommend you go check out. The Stacks documentation, docs.stacks.co. This is going to be your best spot to reference Clarity keywords, functions, learn the basics of Clarity. There's a Clarity crash course on there. Learn Web3 is going to be really good for sort of a start to finish introduction to Stacks. So they've got 2 courses right now. One's an intro, and then one is more front-end focused. So this is going to be really good if you want just a structured walkthrough of how to get started building on Stacks. And then the hero docs, you're also going to want to reference a lot for the platform, for Clarinet, for Stacks.js. But between these 3 links and the platform templates that I just showed you, you should have pretty much everything you need to be able to get started with your project and be able to take it from 0 to 1 as quickly as possible so that you can get over that initial hurdle of just getting started. You can actually start building your functionality into your project. So that's it for that workshop. Thank you, everybody. Super excited to see what you all are going to build. And yeah, I'll be talking to you guys next week during mentor hours and helping you guys out however I can get your project started.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks for giving us that overview. And thanks everyone for tuning in. So our next workshop will be starting in 7 minutes, and we will see you there. Thank you.